Good morning, MegaPodlings. It's Crazy Joe, and I am joined by Wesley Mellott of Thinking Arts Entertainment. He's a filmmaker. You should check out some of his stuff. You can find a lot of it on his YouTube channel, which I will link down below. Thinking Arts Entertainment. So it's good to see you, Wes. Wes and I used to work together. We don't see much of each other anymore.
Oh, it's been a while. What has it been?
It's been
A year?
over a year.
Yeah.
I mean, we see each other in the we've talked in email but you know, I haven't had a conversation where I could actually see you.
Right.
Even though we're in this weird pandemic Skype thing, but you know, like I haven't actually had like a face-to-face conversation with you since like April or February of 2018.
Wow, I can't
Or
believe it's been that
2019.
long.
2019. 20, yeah.
I was gonna say, I feel like it's been 2019 seems about right. But we have like ran into each other not since it's been a long time, but we have ran into each other outside of work too, which is random.
Did we since I left? I didn't remember that, but it's possible.
Maybe. Maybe it was before you left. I can't remember.
If we did, it was probably in a movie theater. So
yeah.
which brings us to the topic. What a segue!
Nice segue.
Perfect segue. You know, there's been a lot of talk. You and I are both big fans of the movie theater experience, and there's been a lot of talk lately about the future of movie theaters. And I thought, who better to have this conversation with than you? A lot of naysayers. A lot of people are saying movie theaters are a thing of the past. They're going away. I don't believe it. I do believe they're having a hard time. I think some are going to close, but I don't think movie theaters as a whole are going anywhere. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting because we're kind of in this weird situation right now where basically movie theaters in, I think, like 46 states or so. I don't remember the exact numbers, but they're allowed to be open. You know, yeah, they'll have like capacity limits depending on where you're located and stuff, but yet the two biggest markets in the country in terms of movie going are still closed, and they're not allowed to reopen, and they don't know when they're going to be reopened.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this weird situation where movie studios, like Tenet, for instance, was released, and it was kind of marketed as the first big movie to get people to come back to the movie theaters, and it struggled at the box office, but also the two biggest markets in the country are still closed.
Right.
And so
we'll never really know how that movie would have done.
Exactly.
It's a question, and I've heard it said, some people have suggested, and I don't completely disagree with it. I mean, to his credit, he's done a lot of good for New York. New York's been, you know, they came out of the pandemic before anyone. So, but Andrew Cuomo has done some great work there. But he may be the single biggest threat to movie theaters right now, because he won't allow New York to open, but he'll allow bowling alleys to open. It's like, what is the logic there?
I've seen that too, and it's kind of a shame because there really needs to be some sort of like consistency between, you know, what industries you're going to allow and stuff, because it really makes no sense that bowling alleys are allowed to be open but movie theaters aren't.
Yeah, I mean, you're sticking your fingers in things in a bowling alley. You're going and you're actually I don't get it. I've been going to the movies. My local theater's been open since July. I've been going regularly since July. Yes, Water Tower, absolutely. Used to work there, back before they were Water Tower. But it's incredibly safe. I mean, everything is. I mean, as safe as anything is these days. But I go to the supermarket, and there's people wearing their masks like down on their chin, so it's not even covering their mouth. And they're walking by, and, you know, you're on a narrow aisle, you're trying to grab a box of spaghetti, and some guy completely not acknowledging social distance is standing right behind you, trying to grab the box of spaghetti right next to it. And I'm like, and then of course that guy, he's barely wearing a mask. I have had so many instances in the supermarket lately where I'm like, oh my God, 6 feet, 6 feet.
Yeah.
Then I go to the movie theater, everything, we have whole rows blocked off. The computer will not allow you to buy a seat right next to someone else. There's ample space and limited capacity. I go in, I'm like, this is so much safer than being in the supermarket. And yet there's this stigma out there. I'll go on some internet, websites like Slash Film, and they'll be writing about the movie theater crisis, and you'll see in the comments people will be like, well, they should be closed because they're not safe. And it's like, have you been in a theater? Because they seem fairly
they
safe.
Most definitely haven't.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because when we went to, so Tenet is the only movie that I actually got to go see while, so I'm a member of Regal Unlimited, and that was the only movie that we got to see while Regal had its brief opening, and I felt completely safe. There were only a couple people in the theater, and everybody was wearing masks, and they were all spread out, and so it's, and plus you can see. You can literally walk in the halls and see like the employees like wiping everything down and cleaning, and they've been doing a really good job at it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been seeing movies that don't even interest me, just to support the theater because I know they're struggling. I'm like, I got to go out and pump some money into them. But yeah, I saw Tenet, and I talked to my friend who works for. He's a manager over at the Phoenixville Colonial Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I were both saying we think that number one, well, obviously New York and LA not being open is the biggest stumbling block, but I think that the studios put their eggs in the wrong basket. I don't think Tenet should have been the first to open. Tenet, for one thing, a lot of like cinephiles were excited about Tenet because Christopher Nolan. But right. I don't know that the average person on the street was that excited about that movie. The trailer didn't really tell you much about the movie. It was kind of like you didn't walk away with a sense of what it is. And I don't know that like the average guy on the street was dying to see Tenet. I think a big what I call crowd pleaser like James Bond or
for sure.
Black Widow would have been the smarter movie to open with.
Yep. I completely agree. Like, yes, Christopher Nolan's name does carry like a marketability there, but it's not the kind of marketability like your Marvel movies or your James Bond has. Like, people aren't just going to rush out and see a movie just because, I should say, the masses aren't going to rush out and see a movie just because Christopher Nolan's name is attached to
it. I think one of the greatest strengths Christopher Nolan movies have is that they usually get word of mouth.
Right.
But you can't generate word of mouth if nobody goes to see the movie. So it's one of these things that it's like, I don't know, but
I think the movie probably, it's hard to say, but I think if New York and LA were open, I think the movie would have opened up on par with, Christopher Nolan's other movies outside of his Dark Knight trilogy, and then Inception. I guess Inception opened to like 80-some million, but I think it would have probably fell in that 45 to 50 million range, which is, I think it clocked in at like half of that, like at 20 million when it opened.
Yeah.
But that's a full week and not even the standard 3-day opening that the movie tracking companies usually report on.
So I don't know. We're in a weird spot now because Regal just shut down again. And I keep saying we're in a weird catch-22 because the theaters are shutting down because there's no new movies coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason they keep holding back the movies is because theaters are shutting down. They're like, well, there's not enough theaters to show them in. And it's like, I keep feeling like NATO and the heads of different theater chains. And by NATO, for those who don't know, I'm talking about the North American theater owners.
Yeah.
Not...
Atlantic Trade Organization.
Exactly. I think NATO, the heads of the different chains and the heads of the studios really need to sit down and make a plan. And the studios have to say, we're going to commit. Like for example, Wonder Woman is supposed to come out Christmas Day. Everyone's expecting it to get pushed now.
Yeah.
But Warner Brothers hasn't said
so
that's going to
too.
happen yet. I think they basically need a commitment where Warner Brothers is going to say, we're going to stick with this. We're not going to pull this. And then the theaters are like, okay, we do have a big movie. We know it's coming. We have something to kind of build our plans on. Because as it is, I keep saying, well, AMC's got to close now because Regal closed, and the fact that Regal closed tells me that Warner Brothers, if they were serious about that date, they're going to pull it because now they certainly don't have enough theaters with Regal gone. And that's then AMC, especially with their cash flow problems, would be foolish.
Yeah, what did they say? Like they only have enough money to last them through the end of the year, basically.
Yeah, but they also claim they're staying open. Which doesn't seem like a good move.
No, but they're still going to bleed cash regardless if they're open or not. So it's like, I don't know.
I do believe AMC is going to make it. I think AMC, there's been persistent rumors that Amazon is interested in buying AMC.
Really?
It's been a rumor, obviously, nothing solid, but that's been a rumor because Amazon has been looking for a vehicle to get their movies into theaters, their original movies. And they, like Netflix, would like the option of having their movies playing in theaters and premiering at the same time on Amazon Prime, which they can't do now because AMC and Regal have those rules about breaking the theatrical window. But if Amazon was the owner, that wouldn't stand in their way. So that's been the consistent rumor. I've also heard that if they do, Prime members may just get A-List for free. That's part of your Prime subscription. So
that would be pretty awesome.
But that's all rumor.
Yeah.
But I do think AMC will survive because they're a name brand. They're the number one theater chain in America, and with the A-List, they were doing. I mean, they were in debt from their restructuring, but they were looking good. Things were looking very positive for AMC until COVID. So I got to imagine that is something that somebody would want to get their hands on.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely companies out there that would invest, and we're still not ruling out the possibility of of stimulus of some sort that would kind of inject some life into the theatrical business as well. But I'm not going to bank on it, and obviously they're not banking on it either because Regal closed. But there still is that possibility.
I would hope so. I would hope so because, in the past we've seen the government bail out businesses that got themselves into their, troubles, like the banks giving out bad loans, but we got to bail them out. This is an instance where it's a business that ran into a problem that nobody could have foreseen.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. There is also like a political factor to this as well, whereas a large portion of Hollywood is looked upon as like the liberal elite, as they call it, and then the Republican people might not be as interested in bailing out them. And I know that Trump kind of feels a certain way about Hollywood and stuff, so, and how they treat him. So there's things to think about too. But I really do hope that the government would bail the industry out, because especially if this goes past the end of this year, they're going to need something, or else they just won't survive.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that if we do get the virus, not the virus, the vaccine, by springtime, it'll be a major game changer, because all these movies, and we got some big movies, highly anticipated movies that got held back, they're all going to be opening in 2021. You've got people who've been sitting at home, either quarantined or just afraid to go out and do anything, or unable to do anything,
for a year,
are stir crazy. They want to get out of their houses. And I think we're going to see a box office boom like we've never seen before in 2021 from just people dying to get out. And let me tell you something else. I keep hearing people say that movie theaters are dead because everyone is now, they're not going to go back to the theaters because they're used to streaming everything now. This has gotten everyone used to streaming. But to that, I say nonsense for a couple reasons. Because number one, first of all, why is everyone picking on movie theaters? You don't hear anyone saying live concerts are dead forever. You don't hear people saying stand-up comedy is dead forever. Live theater, these are all theater environments, but nobody is calling those dead, only movie theaters. Number two, I'm a parent. I got 2 kids, and my wife and I think I speak for every parent who's lived through this pandemic, we want to get away from our children. We want to get a babysitter in here and get out of this damn house and not see them for a couple hours because we've been with them for months. Going down to the basement and watching Netflix on the couch doesn't accomplish that. Number three, you've got the young kids, the teenagers, whatever, who want to go out on a date. They want to get away from mom and dad. They don't want to be sitting on the couch watching Netflix while mom and dad are upstairs going, "How are you two doing? Yep. You want more Hot Pockets?" They don't want that. I just don't see any scenario where getting out and seeing a movie isn't desirable after all this.
Right. Yeah. So for me, my biggest thing with trying to watch a movie at home is this thing, my phone. For some reason, it's just like the biggest attention distractor for me while I'm at home. But when I'm in a theater, nothing. Like, I don't think my phone could vibrate in my pocket, but I don't even think to like pull it out. But at home, it's just like some random thought will pop into my head. Like, they'll be talking about the history of Coca-Cola in a movie. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's true. And the next thing I know, I'm Googling Coca-Cola on my phone, researching if that was true or not.
For me, it's always, where have I seen that actor before?
That too. That happens a lot to me too. And then it just starts this, you just go down the rabbit hole of just random stuff, and that's my biggest thing with watching movies at home. But I don't have that problem when I'm in a theater. It sucks me in.
Oh yeah, I always hear people talk about distractions in the theater. They say, "Oh well, you got kids tweeting during the movie," and I'll admit that's a little annoying.
Yeah.
But to me, that's not nearly as annoying as, and sadly, my dog passed away a couple months ago. But that's not. My dog used to sit at my feet, just begging for popcorn, and he'd sit there, and he'd get louder and louder, and the whine was going up and up and up. And I'm like, I don't have this problem in a movie theater. I don't have this problem in a movie theater. I can't watch anything rated R if the kids are around. They could walk in, they could see something. Then they might not sleep for a week because I scared them, whatever they saw on the TV. There's so many distractions in this house. And in a movie theater, it's like the kids tweeting are much less distracting than what I deal with at home.
Yeah.
So, the other thing I always hear is people say, why would I want to go to a theater and deal with the sticky floors and people kicking my seat? And I'm like, yeah, I don't have these problems. I don't know what theater you're going to that has the sticky floors. I think you're going to the wrong kind of theater, if you ask me.
I mean, I've been to some theaters that have been pretty gross with like people not cleaning them in between screenings. And I've definitely had theaters where the seats, sit too close together and people are constantly like bumping into it. But those are, a handful of experiences, not every experience. I've had experiences where people have been on their phones and have been very distracting to the point where you've had to say something to them, and then it kind of turns into a big deal. But those are rare, and it's, for me, those experiences are more whenever you go see something more mainstream where there's a lot of kids and stuff out. Whereas if you see like more mature content where there's going to be older audiences, they're a lot more respectful than kids.
Yeah. I remember one of my weirdest movie theater experiences that I'll never forget is the movie Lost in Translation.
Okay.
Went and saw Lost in Translation with my friend Brendan. And there were 3 teenagers sitting in front of us. And that was it. It was the five of us, these three teenagers and my friend Brendan and I, and they were like 2 rows down from us. And halfway through the movie, they stood up, turned, looked at Brendan and I, made eye contact, and said, "We're leaving because this movie sucks." And then they just walked out, and we looked at each other and we're like, that was really odd that they felt the need to to share with us why they were. It's like, well, that's surprising. Kind of enjoying it. Glad you told us it sucked. Now we can get out of here too.
I haven't had anything weird like that happen. Probably the worst experience at a movie theater I've had was going to see Mission Impossible Fallout. And I don't know if you were still at Haibu when that came out and if I had told you this story before.
I think you did, but I don't remember it. I remember you had a problem at Mission Impossible Fallout, but I don't remember.
So basically, we went to see it in IMAX, but it's a lot bigger theater in IMAX, and the sound and screen's a lot bigger. So distractions, when people are on their phones, it's not as distracting because everything's bigger and louder. So, but there was a guy kind of, adjacent to us that was on his phone every time there was a dialogue scene, and like full brightness, just scrolling through like Facebook or whatever. And he wasn't just keeping it down in his lap or anything. It was like up here. And so finally it got to the point where my now wife, said something. It was like, "Hey, just, can you please put your phone away?" And he didn't do anything. And like, just, I don't know if he didn't hear her or what, but she asked 3 times, and then he was like, "How about you just shut up?" And we were just like shocked at like this guy's attitude. And then Susan was like, "What's the point of even coming to a movie if you're not going to watch it?" And so from that point on, every dialogue scene for the rest of the movie, he would hold his phone up and literally go like this.
Wow. I can't say I've had many bad experiences. Most of mine have been okay. I've had nothing like that. I did have, when I was like 8 years old, I did have a beer bottle whiz past my head in a movie theater.
Oh gosh, really?
Yeah, it was Scrooged. I went to see Scrooge with Bill Murray. It's always a Bill Murray movie. What's the deal? Yeah, and someone threw a beer bottle and it whizzed past my head, and it was in a really kind of shady part of town, but but yeah, that's probably the weirdest thing that ever happened to me in a movie. But those things have been few and far between, I gotta say. Now, my friend Dave saw a theater get maced once.
I feel like I heard you tell this story, but I can't remember it.
It was Halloween H2O. And it got to the final scene of the movie, and some guy in the front row didn't like how it ended. And he got up and yelled, "What the F?" and stood up, turned, faced the audience, and maced them. Maced the whole audience. They said it went all the way back. Like, people in the back rows were like crying because this guy in the front row maced them.
That's awful.
I mean, we're now painting a very bad picture of movie theaters.
Yeah, we are.
These incidents are like memorable because they're so rare. Like, if this happened every time. But yeah, I've had very few bad experiences.
And for me, like, if you go to movie theaters like the Colonial, Water Tower Cinema, Ambler Theater, what's the one in Doylestown? County, yeah, I think, yeah. You're going to get a lot more respectful people at those theaters than your big chains too.
Yeah, did you mention Bryn Mawr? Bryn Mawr
too, yeah, that was a great one. Had very great experiences. Like, all of those theaters I've had great experiences at. It's just, for whatever reason, like Regal, at like 7 p.m. on Fridays, like the crazy people come out, and you'll have your fair share of bad instances.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm spoiled. It might be the theaters I'm going to, but I don't. But I spend most of my time at Water Tower. That's a really really nice theater. So I can't complain too much really. Uh, I got more complaints watching at home, frankly.
Yeah, me too.
So what do you think the theaters here's something I heard said that frankly I thought was incredibly stupid. I heard somebody say, well, this if the chains, if AMC and Regal go under, it'll be really nice. It'll be really nice because then the independent local theaters will take over and be the thing, and it won't be chains
That's
anymore.
not going to happen.
I said the exact opposite's going to happen. If these theaters close down, the local indie theaters are the ones who are going to struggle the most. They're going to be the first.
They're going to die first. Yeah.
Yeah, the chains will be the ones getting bailed out because, if you want to own if Disney and Warner Brothers want to get their movie in front of eyes, it helps them to more bail out the largest theater chain in the world, AMC, than local independent theaters.
Yeah. So I don't know how it is with Water Tower because they don't have like memberships, but I know for Ambler in the county and maybe the Colonial as well. The only reason they're kind of surviving right now, like Ambler's still shut down. I don't know about the county, but I know the Colonial is open. The only reason Ambler is surviving at least is because they have memberships, right? And the people that are paying right now are just paying to support the theater. And they're okay with, not going to see anything right now while they're closed down. And it's just like they're just giving them money to survive. And that's the only reason that they're able to survive right now. But I don't know how Water Tower doesn't have a membership or anything, right?
They don't have a membership. I personally bought a very large amount of gift cards from them.
Okay.
Because I keep telling people, because I know people who aren't comfortable going to the movies yet, and I keep saying, if you're not comfortable going to the movies, just go to your local theater and buy gift cards. That'll help.
Mm-hmm.
That'll help them. You could use them later.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's the best advice I could give. If you're not comfortable sitting in a theater right now, but you want to help your theater out, buy gift cards. Give them to everyone for Christmas. I don't know.
Yeah.
And a lot of the theaters are doing these private screenings now, where you can rent out the theater. In fact, I was invited to one in like 2 weeks from now. I was invited. My friend rented out a theater around Quakertown. I don't remember the name of the place. I'd never heard of it before. But he rented out a theater and is going to show Back to the Future. And he was able to invite like 20 of his friends. So he sent me an invite. Awesome. The Roxy Theater in Northampton. I've never heard of them, but I looked them up. They're about an hour from me. So, and it's apparently like an old school like movie palace. So,
I know that AMC you can rent out the full theater for $99. So that's pretty cool. Like if you have 10 friends, that's $10 a person.
Yeah.
That's the average movie ticket price, I think. I mean, I think movie tickets are like $14 around us for the most part for like Regal and AMC. I don't know I think Water Tower is $9.
I think so. Yeah, I'll tell you the truth. I don't even pay attention anymore.
Yeah.
I just pay the price and
I saw the other day you and I were getting into it with a guy on Twitter who was talking about the death of the movie industry.
Oh yeah, I only saw that because you responded to him because I saw your response and I followed it back and I'm like, who is this idiot? Yeah, he was like some financial expert.
Yeah.
Like writing, he wrote, movie theaters did it to themselves by charging too much. And I'm like, haven't you heard of A-List at Regal Unlimited? It's never been cheaper to go to the movies. I keep hearing people talk about the high price. It's never been cheaper. $20 a month. You could see so many movies in a month. It's, I don't understand.
Obviously doesn't understand the economics of the movie industry either, because there's a reason the concessions are so high, and it's because movie theaters make nothing on ticket sales. All that money from ticket sales goes to the studio. So they got to make money somehow, because they're building these huge theaters to support these big blockbusters and create this theatrical experience for everybody, and they need to pay that off somehow. So they got to up the prices on the concessions.
The other misconception that's out there, and it's all by people who don't understand how the business works. The other misconception is, well, the studios don't need the theaters anymore. They're going to put everything direct to streaming, take it direct to the customer, and it's
not going to happen.
It doesn't work because there's never been a movie that went direct to streaming that made $1 billion. Like Disney made like 10 movies last year that made $1 billion. There's never been one, and everyone's saying, "Oh, did you read that article?" Disney said they're putting everything in streaming right now. And it says, yeah, they did put that article out there. But if you read that article, nowhere in that article does it say we're giving up on theaters.
No.
If anything, I think that article means they're going to bail out of physical media. Why sell Blu-rays when they can? It's like, oh, did you like Avengers 5? Want to see it again? You got to subscribe to Disney Plus.
See, that also makes me sad, because I like to collect movies that I like, and I like to physically own them.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Just buying digital movies just doesn't feel like I actually own them.
I know. Yeah, I agree.
Or even streaming, like having the ability to stream it whenever I want doesn't feel like I actually own them as well. And that really makes me sad, because I know some friends that just had they made a feature film, and it got picked up from distribution, and the distributor was willing to print a limited number of DVDs for them, but they said they weren't going to touch Blu-rays because of the high cost of production. And I was like, I don't understand how this is like so high, because I can create Blu-rays here myself for the cost of what they cost at Micro Center, which is maybe like $5 for a 5-pack or something. I don't remember exactly the price, but I don't know how. I guess when you're doing it on a lot larger scale, and then printing the what do you call those things, like the envelope things that go inside?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I don't know what they call them.
Yeah, the enfold or something like that. And something, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it is there's probably cost somewhere, and then when you're printing like 100,000 copies or whatever, I guess it adds up. But
I think the biggest problem is they're not selling.
Yeah.
Like I just bought this yesterday. This is the Target. I don't know, with my green screen, you can see it. It's the Target exclusive Onward Blu-ray. This was a $35. This is the 4K. This was a $35 disc. They're all on clearance for $10 now.
Wow.
And that's all the Disney titles. Frozen 2. I don't know. Anything Disney put out recently, all the Target exclusives are like $10 now on clearance. So they're not
also all on Disney Plus right now too, right?
Yeah, in fact, that might be why people might say, at least with Disney, they might say, well, I don't think, and I'm not talking about like collectors like you and I, but the average person on the street, they may, why do I need to own that? It's right on Disney Plus. I'm paying for Disney Plus.
I've definitely done that, where I've seen a movie that I really wanted to watch or buy, and I picked it up and I was like, oh no, it's actually on the movie channels right now. I can watch it there. But for movies that I actually want to own, I'm always going to buy it and just have it in my collection.
Yeah, I'm the same way. In fact, the only reason I hadn't bought this one yet was because it came out in the middle of the pandemic. I was like, well, I'm not going to rent it. That was another thing. I'm like, well, I can watch it on Disney Plus for now. I'll buy the disc at a later date. And then I guess lucky for me, the thing got discounted in the meantime.
Save $25.
But that's not a good sign of what's to come.
So. No, things are definitely going to change over the next couple of years, and probably quicker than we realize.
But to the people who keep saying, "Oh, everything will just go to streaming," the thing that they got to understand is streaming isn't profitable. It's not profitable. Disney took a bath on Mulan. Mulan did abysmal. That could have been. I mean, it's a Disney princess movie. It could have been $1 billion if it hit theaters.
Yeah,
I mean,
especially if you consider other markets too, worldwide markets.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think it actually did release in some markets worldwide theatrically, right?
Yeah.
I haven't actually looked at any numbers, so I don't know how it did.
It did okay. Like I don't think it was a total failure, but it was certainly not impressive.
If I can find it. Milan, 66.8 million. So I don't know how many markets that is.
I mean, China refused to show it, right? So it didn't play in China. So that's the biggest market actually, right there.
No, China did show it.
Oh, China did show it. Okay, yeah. I thought they were refusing for.
It grossed 40.7 million in China.
Huh.
But yeah, I don't like this. Obviously, what I'm looking at is not the full scope of markets. So, considering if that movie were to have went to worldwide, it definitely would have grossed over $1 billion.
Yeah, and I've heard people say that it wouldn't because they didn't think it looked very good. But you got to remember, Aladdin hit $1 billion, Lion King hit $1 billion, and
plus people just want to take their kids to it.
Oh yeah, I my two girls are still dying to see it. I mean, we haven't seen it yet because we're not paying $30 on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
we're not going to do that. So so we're still waiting. But in December, when it's free on Disney Plus, they will be watching that. They can't wait. So, all right, I will let you get going. Looks like we've been talking for over a half hour now. I don't want to. I always think that's probably about the bailout time before we start to bore people.
Yeah, this was fun, and I think it's the movie theater industry. It might suffer in the short term, and there might be some turnover in terms of ownership, especially for AMC, who's struggling financially. But the movie going experience isn't going to change as we know it, because movie theaters, movie studios just won't gross $1 billion off of streaming, and that's really what it comes down to. Because with streaming and everything, there's not only the fact that you put it out there. Disney did the $30 VOD thing, but that's kind of like a rarity, right?
That was them testing the waters. And it was such a spectacular failure that Soul is going to be free now on Christmas, because they're like, well, that didn't work.
That is kind of surprising that they're releasing that for free, but I mean, I don't know what their decision is.
I think they're getting to the point where, even though they're taking a loss on some of these movies, they don't really have a choice, because the more movies that get held over, the more crowded 2021 becomes, and then there's no release dates left. The calendar.
And then they cannibalize themselves whenever they try to release those movies, because people are going to have too many choices, and that's kind of a bad thing because it eats into your own business.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's actually probably smart of them to do that, because then it saves those big titles, like Black Widow and stuff like that are going to go out and they're going to gross over $1 billion. Whereas I don't know if Soul would have.
Soul,
it would have done well, but
Soul looks like it's really good. I mean, it looks like it's really good, but it's also some pretty heady topics like death and what happens when you die. And I don't know that that's a family crowd pleaser. Of course, the same thing can be said about Coco, and that, I don't know how much that grossed, but that did really well. So who knows? But and the other thing I keep hearing is that Disney probably is also releasing Soul for free as an apology for Mulan since they pissed off so many people.
Oh, really?
I've heard that.
Probably not their exact reasoning, but
apparently a lot of people got pissed off when Mulan became available on all the other streaming, like about 2 weeks ago.
Cheaper, right?
No, same price.
Oh, same price.
But it came with extra features.
See, that would piss me off too, because it actually annoys me whenever like I buy something on digital and then I find out it doesn't have any extra features, but then another platform does. It's like I don't understand why they just all don't get the same special features.
I'll tell you this, I would have been more likely to spend the $30 if it went right to Vudu and iTunes and those. If it went to those places first, I would have been more likely to spend the $30 so my girls could watch it. But I told my wife I'm not going to support the precedent of a double dip on a streaming service we're already paying a monthly fee on.
100%. I completely agree with you there.
But it was great talking to you.
Yeah, it was great talking to you too.
I'm going to put your links down below. Everyone, please go check Wes's channel out. You'll see some great content there.
And if anybody's interested in horror movies, just a real quick plug. Sorry, we do have 2 short horror films coming out Halloween weekend, October 26th and October 29th. So if you enjoy horror movies, one is about a group of vloggers who venture into an abandoned town and things go awry. And then the other is about a woman who conjures a spirit through a Ouija board. So I don't know if anybody's interested.
I will be checking them out. So
hope you enjoy them.
And I'll share them. I'll share them on MegaPodTastic.com and try to get some more eyes on them.
Yeah, thank you. Always appreciate it.
Little influence I have, which is it's not much, but.
Have you ever seen Terrifier?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
So I've never actually seen it, but the lead actress from Terrifier 2, the sequel to Terrifier, is the lead in our short film called Stalked, which is the vlogger one I explained. So if anybody's seen it, you'll be seeing a familiar face whenever Terrifier 2 comes out in, I think, April or something of next year.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us, Wes. Again, links down below. Go check out his channels. And I give everyone now the sarcastic Vulcan salute. Keep wearing those pajamas.
Keep wearing those pajamas with the plastic feet. Keep wearing those pajamas. Tell everyone you meet. Keep wearing those pajamas with the back door flap. Keep wearing those pajamas. Don't open it, it's a trap. Oh no, it's a trap. Some people call them PJs, some people call them jammies. They can come embroidered with big money and no whammies. They can have 100 tiny commander adamas, but no matter how they look, just keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep on wearing those pajamas. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now we're having fun. Keep wearing those pajamas. And now the song is done.